Johnny fucking Harris, did a really, really good job at showing why the US will never beat the regime using, basic persuasion tactics. And the way he manipulated it, I felt was extremely awful because, the best people that use persuasion use a mixture of truth and falsehood. We know that. But what really annoyed me was that his YouTube, last time I checked, had over 3 million hits. And it was sponsored by, special thanks to Trita Parsi, out of the Quincy Institute. We all know who Trita Parsi is. And so Trita Parsi, helped him prepare this video, and it was released like 8 days ago. I'm posting it right now. I commented on that, in YouTube, of course, and I also posted it on X and my own group asking people to please comment, and try to shed some light on the actual facts behind that YouTube. But I'm really annoyed as fuck that we still have to deal with people that are manipulating the truth just to support the regime, and he's fucking American. I am so fucking tired of Americans who cannot get their head out of their ass and realize that by supporting the regime, we are literally supporting another 1979 Iran revolution right here in America. We see what's going on in New York City, Minnesota, et cetera, and I'm just appalled and I'm annoyed. So I'm asking everybody if you would please, you don't have to necessarily watch the whole thing, but if you do, if you would comment on it and possibly post it on X so that we could get some sort of momentum to try to stop some of the damage that it will cause. And that's all I
What
have to
does
say.
it? How does it argue? What is the argument?
The argument is that the US can never beat the regime. That's the bottom line. And it goes into the whole history of how the regime was formed, how it was supported by the Nazis, how it was supported by Russia, how we supported it, how the UK supported it, how we continue to support it, how the world continues to support it. And even though he supposedly was in Iran and supposedly learned Farsi, and has a lot of respect supposedly for the Iranian people and feels that they have suffered, on and on and on. That's the truth part that I was talking about earlier. His bottom line conclusion is that the regime probably can never be toppled. And what really annoyed me is that it comes out 8 days ago when the regime is literally at its weakest, and being supported by Trita Parsi, who we all know, ICE is investigating right now for, possibly deportation because of his, support of the Islamic regime.
Yeah,
So,
but my so that's the claim. Okay, that's not the argument. The claim is that the United States can't beat the Islamic Republic, right?
and
But
he
what
just, that is his argument and claim. That's what I'm trying to say. He's not really saying anything other than that, but he spends 40 minutes, showing the history and why they cannot be beaten, which is to me, well, it's a ridiculous claim.
but I still
And
don't
it
understand what
isn't
does it show.
logical, but
Make
we have so many people right now that are so weak-minded that they don't understand the difference between an argument and a claim. They don't
okay, but so
understand, so
when you say for
sorry.
40 minutes he shows, other than the history, like what does he show in support of that claim?
All
Nothing.
right, so he goes
Mm.
all the way back to, when the Shah, the Russian Empire, the British Empire helping. And then he talks about how the US and Iran signed an initial deal to end the war. So he's kind of going like back and forth and back and forth on between now and the past. Then he goes back again, to talk about the Shah. And at this time, he starts bringing in the fact that Germany gets involved. And then he continues to go through the history. He starts talking about how now the Russian Empire is now the USSR and the Shah, and how they are actually working to undermine. Well, basically, his point is that the Iran has been undermined for more than just the last 50 years, that it's always been seen as a threat because of its location and its importance in world economics and world politics. And then it goes in again into a discussion of somebody who I cannot pronounce his name, Mossad, I don't know, Mossaddegh, and the Shah. And this was the discussion about oil negotiations, having to from the period of 1949 to 1953. Um, but it
So
shows that he's
this is
primarily
here. This
focused.
is Johnny Harris, right?
Right, and it just goes on and on and on, and then
All
it
right,
goes
got it.
into the
I'm just gonna
revolution.
use I'm just gonna use AI to tell
Mhm,
me what his main claim is, right? So just found the video. I'm asking the AI to just give me, instead of watching the 40 minutes, I just ask AI, how does he support the claim that Iran can't be beat? Okay, so the speaker support the claim that the U.S. struggles to defeat Iran by arguing that the modern Iranian regime is as a reactive system specifically designed to be to be coup and revolution proof due to a 200-year history of foreign interference. uh, okay, that does key
mhm.
supporting argument. So that's the claim. That's still a claim, but let's see what the
Right.
key supporting argument. Let me finish. uh, this is good, by the way. Thank you for bringing this up, because this video got 3.5 million views in the past 8 days, so this is really bad.
I know.
So so he brings 4 points in support of this claim: historical trauma, strategic architecture, resilience to decapitation, and proxy deterrence. So let's go through them one by one and see if they are correct. Okay, so historical trauma: the regime is fueled by a collective national memory of being a former civilizational superpower that was coerced, exploited, and controlled by outside powers, specifically Britain, Russia, and the U.S. for over 2 centuries. So this is BS, because he's mixing Iran with the Islamic Republic. The regime is fueled by foreign power. It's not fueled by a national memory of being coerced, exploited, and controlled by outside power. It is
Right.
outside power, right? The outside power of the Palestinian cause, the outside power of Islam, which none of them belong to the land. So not only does the regime uh, push back against foreign power, the regime is foreign power. So that part is, in fact, the national trauma in Iran is from the foreign power of Islam and the Palestinian cause. So and also it's true. So here's interesting. This part is wrong, because it says like the historical trauma of Britain, Russia, and the US. That is not true about the Iranian people, because the Iranian people have data, scientifically collected data shows that the Iranian people have a very positive view of the US. Their negative view right now against the UK government is because of their support for Islamic Republic. And it's weird that it includes Russia, because the Islamic Republic considers Russia to be an ally against the United States and Israel. So this list doesn't even make any sense. The historical trauma that the Iranian people are dealing with is with Islam, and what they see is as Arabization of their country, and the axis of resistance and the Palestinian cause. That is what they see as the trauma that they're dealing with for the past 1400 years. By the way, he's talking about a trauma that goes back to World War I and World War II. The Iranian people's actual trauma is something that has a 1400 years of history. That is the main trauma that they want to deal with, historical trauma that they want to fight back against. And not only that, they consider United States and Israel to be an ally in pushing back against that foreign force that is causing that trauma. So that's the first point. The second point that he brings in support of his claim is strategic architecture. He said the current Islamic Republic, established in 1979, was built to prevent foreign intervention. This includes a filtered democracy. That's a lie. It's not at all democracy. Like there's zero democracy, not a filtered democracy, where the supreme leader and religious council control political access and legislation, effectively centralizing power to resist external influence. Yeah, so this is a nonsensical claim because it's true that they try to resist external influence, but just because that doesn't support the claim that United States can't beat the Islamic Republic, because trying does not mean that you will succeed, right? You could say like, hey, Armin can lift this car with one single hand. Like, oh, where's your proof? Because he's trying. Okay, he's trying. That is no evidence like that he's going to be able. You claiming that that's what they're trying to do is not the same as you making the argument that that's what they're trying to do does not prove the claim that they're going to be successful. I mean, if I wanted to argue like this, I could say, well, United States is going to beat the Islamic Republic. And you're going to say, okay, well, what's your proof, Armin? Well, I'm going to say, well, because the US military is designed to defeat its enemies. That's what it's designed to do. Would that like, well, if it's designed to do that, so it's going to, therefore, it's going to achieve its goal because it's designed to do that. So you claiming that the Islamic Republic is designed to keep out outside influence does not mean that they're going to be successful. So the second argument is nonsensical. Let me see the third argument that it makes: resilience to decapitation. It says the regime has established multiple parallel government layers and various military branches, including the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, and vast volunteer militia networks. The speaker cites an expert claiming that even if the top 100 officials were removed in a strike, there are layers of personnel waiting to take their place. Okay, they're not going to be as good because there's a reason why they're not on top. Okay, if they were the ideal people, they would be the one on top. When you take out the first layer, the second layer is not going to be as good as the first layer. When you take out the second layer, the third layer is not going to be as good as the second layer. Not only that, the third layer might not even be interested in becoming the leadership because they don't want to get removed either, right? So suggesting that just because a third layer, a fourth layer, a sixth layer, a seventh layer exists doesn't mean that it's not going to be damaging for you to take out, multiple layers of leadership. Like, oh, like it doesn't. There's nothing but a scratch. You're not going to feel anything. I mean, I know this is false because just go look at what has happened. There's an internal civil war within the Islamic Republic because of the layers of power being removed. So the idea that this is not being going to affect them is ridiculous, and it doesn't have to completely decapitate them. It only has to weaken them enough for the Iranian people to have the upper hand. All of these arguments assumes that United States needs to finish the job. The United States doesn't need to finish the job with the Islamic Republic. The United States needs to just weaken the Islamic Republic to a point where the Iranian people decapitate the Islamic Republic. So there's that. Lastly, the fourth argument is proxy deterrence, saying to further deter threats, the regime has expanded its influence through a network of regional proxy militias, creating a buffer that makes a direct military defeat or regime change exceptionally difficult. Well, then you take care of the proxies. What the hell are you talking about? Has expanded? Yeah, but the proxies have been weakened in the past. Look at where the proxies were before and where they are now. Where is Assad? Like, oh, they have proxies, so it makes it difficult. Yeah, and that's why they're taking care of the proxies. Where's Assad? Look at Hamas is like a 20% of what it used to be. Hezbollah is 20% of what it used to be. Look at what's happening in Iraq. Ali al-Zaidi is bringing Iraq into the sphere of influence of United States. All of the politicians that were the puppets of the Islamic Republic in Iraq are being arrested one by one, and all their cash is being taken away from them and being brought back to the government in Iraq. The Iraq is so we look at the proxies. We have the Hashd Shabi, we have the Houthis, we have Hezbollah, we have
So
okay, Alexia, I'm gonna remove. Let me just disable
uh,
your. Yeah, I'm gonna disable Alexia's audio so that this doesn't happen again. What was I saying? I lost my train of thought. So we're looking at Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, Hashd Shabi, and Zainabin and Fatimin are not relevant here because they're in Afghanistan and Pakistan, right? So yeah. And also Syria, we had Assad. Assad is gone. Hezbollah is weakened. Hamas is weakened, close to non existent. Houthis are being weakened, extremely weakened, close to non existent, getting close to non existent. The Iraq, Hashd Shabi in Iraq was also being weakened. So he tells you that these proxies exist. He doesn't tell you the success story about defanging the Islamic Republic when it comes to all of its deterrence capabilities. In fact, this entire list would, even if I wanted to make his argument, I wouldn't be talking about this list that he gave us here, like historical trauma. Okay, you have historical, let's say you do. How is that historical trauma is going to hold back the Americans? Like, what is that going to do? Strategic architecture, okay, is it working? It's not working. Resilience to decapitation, you can try. Does it do something meaningful? It's not. We can see that it's not. The only thing on this list that has a meaningful pushback against the Americans is the proxy deterrence, and that has been weakened significantly. In my list, if I wanted to suggest that the Americans will not win, would be proxies, the enriched uranium, and control over the Straits of Hormuz and Bab el-Mandeb. That's what I would give, and then I would also show you that from these three, only the enriched uranium is a meaningful deterrence. The two other ones, we have made so much progress against the Islamic Republic. The only one that seems extremely difficult to get is the enriched uranium. And that you don't even need to get. If you defang the Islamic Republic in the two other areas, then the Islamic Republic is weakened enough for you to be able to finish the job and topple it. And then you can get the enriched uranium from the new transitional government. So that's my response. Does that make sense, Hulda?
Sorry, yeah, I asked to respond to you. And I agree with everything that you're saying. And these are the points I'm trying to make. But he's created this YouTube to fuel people that do not understand the difference, not only between opinion and fact, but what's going on right now. He's presented this as a persuasive argument, but it's actually a false opinion piece, that's supported by that freaking traitor, Trita Parsi. And we have to remember that in America, we have a lot of TikTok brain. And this is something that we do need to address, in my opinion, as a group, because even though we know the truth behind the BS, the fact remains that 3.5 million people have watched this video in 8 days, and many of them do not know that he's spouting BS. And I just think it's important that we, you know, uh, address it. If we want to do responses on YouTube, if we want to, talk about it on social platforms. I just think it's something that we need to address and debunk, you know, um, because otherwise, by us not doing that, I think that we are giving fuel in places where it doesn't need to be. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, actually, by the way, thank you so much for bringing this up. This is very important. This is like, this video has gotten the most amount of views, somewhat one of the most amount of views about explaining the Iran situation, and it's all garbage. It's so easily demonstrable that it's garbage, right? So
It really stresses me out. Yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
3.5 million views. And you're right. Actually, I didn't know Trita Parsi was being mentioned in there. Like, and it's good that you guys know these things. Like, I feel like it's good that we have. It seems like the Iranian people have done a good job spreading information about people like Trita Parsi. That you guys have such a strong reaction to who these people are. Like, I'm really proud of you guys and the fact that you know these things, because this type of information was only stuff that people knew. Only Iranians mostly knew, and only Iranians that are heavily involved in political activism. And the fact that you guys know who Trita Parsi is and why that's a problem is honestly very impressive, and I'm so proud of you guys. So let me actually look at. Here's what's in the video. Johnny Harris
If you
acknowledges
go to
Trita
the
Parsi.
yeah, go to the
Nice. No,
end.
I'm just going to read
Yeah.
the. I'm just going to use AI to bring up the parts that are relevant, right? Trita Parsi is in the video. He's listed under the special thanks to special thanks in the special thanks to section as the executive vice president of the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft for his contribution to the project. So you know what this means? That means that this video is made by the Islamic Republic. For people who don't know, Trita Parsi is the founder of NIAC. He works for the so-called reformers arm of the Islamic Republic in Washington, D.C., which means that they are the NIAC and Trita Parsi are the lobby of the Islamic Republic in Washington, D.C., which should be illegal, which it is illegal, and there's not that much that is being done about it. Guys, so think about how sneaky this is. The Islamic Republic has managed to spend money to make a video by made by Johnny Harris, a YouTuber with 8 million subscribers, making a video explaining why the United States is not going to be able to beat the Islamic Republic, that in just a few days, in 8 days, has received 3.5 million views. This is how the Islamic Republic comes directly into your homes and poisons the minds of Americans. Like an average American watching this video from Johnny Harris has no idea that this video has been funded by the Islamic Republic. And this is how they cross your borders and come into your minds. This is so this is a huge threat to you. Your enemy is using the face of Johnny Harris, a giant political channel, politics explainer channel, which so many Americans trust them as a great source to convince them why the Islamic Republic has the upper hand against the United States. It's crazy that this is even allowed.
I was going to say that I'm part of a group. We've been working really hard on getting Trita Parsi um, deported from America, and we've gotten him to the point that he is being investigated. So I think we're, I think that we accomplished a lot just by getting to that point, to be honest with you. But knowing that the regime is doing what they're doing right now, by using somebody like Johnny Harris to spew their shit, I think means that we need to double down even harder. Because this was shown to be what was sent to me this morning by um, a dissident. Because that person knows that that I'm part of this group and other groups and stuff. But I think it's really, really important that we work really, really hard at combating some of these things, because the fact that he's American is like a double-edged sword, in my opinion. Because if he's supporting the regime there, then obviously he must be supporting some of the movements here, the leftist movements. That's just my stance on this.
Hmm. Listen to this. Court discovery documents, and guys, these are public information. Court discovery documents, internal email evidence, and federal judicial rulings show that Trita Parsi systematically coordinated communications with senior diplomats of the Iranian regime to influence U.S. policy decisions. His long-standing opposition to sanctions and Western deterrence near the Persian Gulf directly furthers the geopolitical interests of the Islamic Republic. This is the source that Johnny Harris has used to make this very well-made BS politics explainer video, explain to Americans why the Islamic Republic is undefeatable by the United States. Crazy.
My name is Armin Navabi. I'm an Iranian political analyst with decades of experience fighting the Islamic regime inside and outside of Iran. Make sure you follow me for more, and also make sure you join our discussion group. I'm there almost every single day. Come talk to me there and the rest of the people there in our group calls. It's a great place to meet and talk to people who like talking about politics. The link is in the description and or in the bio. You could also get there by scanning the QR code on the screen. See you there.